So this really becomes the understanding of, is it a safari or is it an expedition? And I've never been to South Africa, but I understand there's a lot of safaris, right? And what are those? Those are observations where you go in your Range Rover and you watch the lions, and the tigers and the giraffes and that sort of thing as well. So that's the difference. An expedition, this is how we get you to the digital promised land. We have the 10 base camps to get you there. We go through the fear, learning, and growth, and we get you to the digital promised land. You couldn't do that on a safari, and no offense to anybody who runs safaris, right? You go out and you come back and it's cool. They kind of run the show and away you go. But if you're talking about an expedition, that's where the real capabilities lie, like the expedition across the Antarctic, the expeditions across the Arctic, through Canada, the first flight from Charles Lindbergh from New York to England to Europe, right? All of these had one thing in common, is that they took some time to be able to plan and prepare, right? And this little mini expedition that I was talking about earlier, about going up the west coast of Australia, I knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to get to Broome, and I'm not quite there yet. And we've taken little rides here and done this and done that, but every day we make some progress. We planned ahead. We got all our equipment ready. We got the vehicle, we got the equipment, got everything that we needed to be able to do that. But today, most businesses, it's pretty random. They're continuing in the chaos. And so we need to be able to take these 10 base camps to get us where we want to go. So, quickly, I talked about this briefly in a few slides back, but, what is the point of your clarity? And again, you can write it down or put it in the comments or whatever. What is the point of clarity that you want to be able to achieve to say, yes, this is very clear. So this is where I need to start my expedition. I haven't started yet, don't get me wrong, but I want to be clear. I want to get clear before I actually start on it. So how much preparation do I need? What do I have to bring? Who's coming with me? What do we need? What training do we all need to understand as well? So what is that point of clarity that you feel that you need to have before you start your digital expedition? It could be a point of clarity about business. It could be a point of clarity about building that structure, that foundation. And likewise with the point of certainty, that means that is the point where I am very, very certain that I know what I need to do. It doesn't mean, for example, that you have to be like a digital guru. It doesn't mean that you have to be, know absolutely everything about digital. But what it does mean is that you need to understand what pieces you do need, and more importantly, what you don't need. So you don't get those calls or emails, in the middle of the night or whatever from somebody saying, hey, I can do your SEO and I'm going to get you #1 ranking on Google. Guess what? If you're doing things properly, if you're building your digital foundation, you don't need those people. They're basing their business upon the fact that you're not sure if I need them or not, but I'm telling you, you don't need them. So how do you get to that point of certainty to say, this is what I need, this is what I don't need? That's what you need to look at. So what is that point of certainty for you and your business right now to be able to get there? And then finally, point of competency. What is that for you to be able to say, I know that this is what I need to know? Right? It seems kind of simple, but it's, a little bit of thought goes into this too, is what do I need to know to be able to move forward? And we really need to look at, how do we define this? How are we able to understand what's important and what we need to do as well? And this is what I call the digital AMPS approach. Okay, what are the building blocks you'll need for your expedition? And don't worry too much about the depth of this. We're not going to go through it all. But the 4 main elements are your audience. Let me get the highlight. The audience here. The method, which is what is your internal structure to connect. The process, which means what steps are critical to succeed. What do you need to enable your business? If you don't have these, you're not going to be able to succeed in digital. And then finally, the story. What journey are you bringing your audience on? And if you have these 4 elements in varying capacities, that's how you actually build your digital expedition. We want to be able to progress from fear, from fear to learning to growth, to be able to say these are the pieces that are important. This is what I really need to understand. And I want to expand out this one as well, the process, because again, these are steps that you can take now just to get started. I mean, that's why it's positioned here as well at the beginning of this, to get us up to the summit and then back down the other side as well. And typically you can do these in any order as long as you have them before you leave as well, before you say, yes, I'm going to start on my expedition. So it's something that's very, very important. It helps you build that foundation. And we need to be able to see how we can do, again, clarity up here, certainty at the top, and competency at the bottom as well. So let's expand this a little bit into the process. So again, if you don't have these, how are you going to survive? These are the critical elements that you need to have in your digital process to be able to engage people around the world, around your neighborhood, as I talked about. We need to be able to have what I call value creation, surprise and delight. Can I do that value for my customer that says, this is interesting, this is great, I love it, this is how I really can present my value? Are you able to produce a digital experience that's personalized, that's directed at your audience, that says, I know you? It's not just some random, not some chaotic process that says, hey, let's try this, let's try anything that works and go from there. It's not. Are you creating a personalized digital experience worth remembering? That's remarkable. And then finally, digital delivery. Are you able to do this on demand? And I'm not just talking about delivery, like physical delivery. I'm also talking about delivery of your services, or delivery of your training, or delivery of your model. You need to be able to produce that, or have that capability to be able to say, if somebody wants it, you can provide it to them now. And again, there's variations of this. It's not necessarily, your whole product ecosystem, all of your services, or whatever the case may be. It might be a training course. It might be a summit. It might be, something that allows you to connect with your audience. And there's some really cool models as well, just to hopefully put it in perspective, that these are the businesses that are actually making things happening. The first one is what I call the celebrity chef model. So this is, I'm not sure if you guys have HelloFresh in South Africa, but basically it's in Australia, and I think it's in Canada and the US and that sort of thing. I don't know if it's in Europe. I'd love to know if it is. But anyway, basically you buy your ingredients once a week, and they ship it once a week to you, and then you actually collect the ingredients and chop and that sort of thing. So it's not like prepared food where it comes in like a ready-to-eat container and you throw it in the oven kind of thing. This is actually ingredients. So HelloFresh meets Jamie Oliver. He's the celebrity chef. He's had a show the last couple of months where it's him making some dishes. It's like his family are filming him, and he's in his kitchen, and it's really, really cool because he's connecting with people. He's making these dishes, and away we go, right? He's able to make them up in however time needed. So that's the process. So HelloFresh meets Jamie Oliver meets Uber Eats, and I'm talking here about delivery, right? So can we actually create a model that allows us to deliver our product instantaneously? Right now, even if you're in the e-commerce world, you can compete with Amazon, you can compete with the big hardware stores and the big grocery stores as well. There's products out there, there's services out there that allow you to connect with a similar service like Uber Eats, where the drivers are available and ready to be able to jump, pick up a package, and ship it to a customer immediately within a couple of hours. Amazon has their Prime. Guess what? You can enable that with your business right now as well. You can also look at subscription services. You can look at the multiple payment methods as well, where you can actually pay, pay before, like basically it's a service that allows you to be able to pay for your product, but you pay it then back in installments as well. So HelloFresh meets Jamie Oliver meets Uber Eats. What does that mean? Basically saying that you take the ability to be able to deliver your product specifically for them now. You're able to do sort of with a celebrity chef, and I'm not talking a chef specifically. You are, in a lot of service-based businesses, they have the personality, which is you. You're able to convey that expertise. You're able to deliver the ingredients, right? How do I actually solve the problem? How do I produce the results? And you're able to do it instantaneously as well. From a restaurant model, these are the ones that we're going to see a lot more of, being able to do this. So it's group cooking online with a celebrity or a local chef, and you have the ingredients and you're able to deliver that to your customer immediately as well. The next model to look at is what I call Netflix of spectacle. So Cirque du Soleil is a business out of Canada. They went into receivership a couple months ago. I don't know if they've been able to recover. But if you look at it, they're one of the companies that are not in that digital adoption curve, right? They're in the other side. They're the ones that have not engaged that at all. And the reason I say that is because despite the fact that if you've ever been to a Cirque du Soleil presentation, yes, it's a wonderful experience. Yes, it gives you, sight and sound and feeling and shaking and all that kind of stuff, right? The fact is that in this environment, not everybody can go see your show. Not everybody can connect with you right now, but they can in the digital space. So can you imagine if Cirque du Soleil took some of their events, some of their programming, and actually created, again, a streaming service for that business that allows them to connect with their audience around the world. Doesn't matter if you're in the same city, doesn't matter if you're around the world, you can actually buy a subscription. They didn't do that at all. So where are they now? I don't know, but they've filed for bankruptcy. Again, this was back in June. I haven't actually followed that story any further. Then you look at a company like Disney, who said there's a play in the U.S. called Hamilton, and it's a big deal, right? But the problem is that not everybody can go see it right now. They haven't been able to produce that. So what did Disney do? They said, let's just go film this. Let's record it. Let's make a video of it. No new fancy stages, just use the stage from the show, and then they stream that service, right? Disney is in that 20% of companies that have already adapted to digital. Cirque du Soleil, they have not done that at all. So imagine if, again, you can sell a subscription service, Cirque du Soleil, that's spectacle, a Netflix of spectacle. Their revenues would go up substantially as well. So we need to look at how do we actually create these three things. And all of these models, they're creating the value. They're surprising and delighting. They're creating this digital experience that's personalized and creates an audience experience. It's nothing else, right? The audience is the primary function of this. And they're able to deliver it on demand. And that means like right now, right here, right now, whenever it is that I, as your customer, want it. So quick question, what do you have in place that allows you to create that value, allows you to create that digital experience, and allows you to be able to deliver it digitally? Do you have all three? And if not, that's fine, but start to outline these, start to put these steps together in terms of these are the three things, these are the starting blocks to say I'm getting ready for my expedition as I get into this as well. All right, so how does that all fit together? So what we need to do next is look at what I call a flight plan. It doesn't matter. This is not a business plan, right? This is, consider it like a roadmap, but again, we've added that extra dimension because every aircraft that ever leaves the earth, leaves the runway, has to file a flight plan. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're just going around the neighborhood and going around the coast and looking at the fish in the reefs or whatever the case may be. Every time a plane leaves, they have to file a flight plan. And the reason they do that is so that they know where they're going and the steps that they need to be able to take along that way as well. Because if they don't, guess what? That's how planes were lost. That's why, you had to send out search and rescue teams because they didn't know that this plane had left, or it left and it didn't return. So where to go, we have no idea. Guess what? You have to follow a flight plan. These are the specific steps that you need to take along the way. And what I've done is actually just taken this so that you can see each step is one of these elements. Okay, 3, 6, 9, 12 elements here. If you can prioritize them, and again, this is not something you can do overnight. This takes some time to be able to build that. If you can take those 12 elements, prioritize them into specific building blocks, that becomes your flight plan. So start simple, start down here, Building blocks 1, 2, 3. What should you work on first? Your value creation, your digital experience, and your digital delivery. Then once you have those, move on to the next ones, the next 3 and the next 3 and the next 3. And eventually you'll have a full flight plan rather. So what I recommend is take those 3, list them out in your priority. And again, every business is different. So you need to be able to look what's going to work for my business right now. Prioritize those steps. If you don't have them, start to look at them. What specific actions can you actually do? And then continue on. When do I want to finish this? Because again, it's going to take some time. Don't believe that you can get this done overnight. I'm telling you now, digital is not easy. I said that at the beginning, right? It's hard, but it becomes easier as we become more prepared for it, as we know what we need to prioritize and how we need to prioritize as well. So action for you today, oops, go back, prioritize each of them, place them in order, and then add an estimated date as well. And guess what? You've got a roadmap. You've got a flight plan that gets you past this stage of your business. Pretty easy, right? Yes, it is easy. It can be done. But number 9, base camp number 9 is timing and targeting your digital expedition. And this is vectors are everything. So I talked about it before, but when are you prepared to take action? Are you prepared to take action now? Are you going to wait and see what happens? Or are you just going to kind of put your head in the sand and say, we'll get over this, we'll be done, and we'll be up and running just as we were a year ago in a couple months, maybe 2021, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, right? Take your pick. It's going to be too late. So you have to be able to be prepared to take action now. How big and quickly does the problem become? Time and obstacle. And again, if there's any pilots out there, your obstacles become bigger the longer you wait for them. So if you're sitting on the runway, you're ready to take off, there actually is an obstacle diagram, sometimes depending on the aircraft, or rather the airport, that says you've got these obstacles at such and such distance down the runway or off the end of the runway, or whatever the case may be. As you push the throttle forward, times tick, 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 tick kind of thing, your obstacles become bigger the further you go down the runway. So you need to decide now what's important and what are you going to actually be able to do, because the longer you wait, the bigger those obstacles become. If you can't take off until the end of the runway, guess what? Those obstacles are big. When you're just taking off, obstacles are small. Yeah, I've got lots of room, I've got lots of time, but as you get down that runway, right, obstacles get bigger and bigger and bigger. So we need to decide that now. So timing is important. And vectors are important. So the story I love to tell is, what does 1 degree look like? You think about it, 1 degree, 360, it's small. Okay, so it must be pretty insignificant, right? Again, back to aviation, there's a rule of thumb called the 60 mile rule of thumb. Basically, if you're moving 60 kilometers or miles, it doesn't really matter what distance, what measurement you use, for every 1 degree you're off, and again, that's small. For every 1 degree you're off, you land up being 1 mile off or 1 kilometer off. So if I go 60 miles forward, I'm 1 degree off, I'm 1 kilometer off. So I can look down, and if I'm in a small aircraft, it's pretty easy. I go, small flight, 60K, 1 kilometer off, just over there, I can land, right? Guess what? If you're flying from Perth to Johannesburg, and I looked it up, it's 8,300 kilometers, I think it is. That's a huge distance. If I'm 1 degree off, I'm not going to land in Johannesburg. Okay, I'm going to be off course. And if there's anything I can say, that's the message, that we have to make these small corrections. And that's why this flight plan, again, is designed to be able to accommodate that. Okay, we know that it's not in a straight it's not in a straight line, because we're making constant corrections, because we're trying to understand what we need to do and correct as well. So guess what? Flight plans do move. If you watch aircraft, they don't go from point A to point B. They go to there's routing information that they have to go to, right? So to get to that one point, they don't necessarily follow in a straight line. So you can do that too. That's what your flight plan becomes. So what do you do next? This is what I call your digital challenge. It's really important to understand, where are you right now? Okay, so take, you know, take an inventory of where you are, what you have, what capabilities do you have, what do you want to understand more of, what do you want to be able to do. But you have to know where you are, otherwise you're never going to be able to know where you need to get to, right? Again, an expedition up the coast, if I didn't know, I know it's kind of obvious, but I didn't know if I was starting from Perth, I wouldn't know where I was going to be going. Plain and simple, right? Where are you going? How will you get there? Again, identify it, map it out. Simply just say, I want to get to here. And again, getting to that summit is only, that's half of the battle. That's half of there. Once I get to my destination, I have to turn around and come back. Everybody has to do that. So getting there is, it's fun, it's exciting, it's interesting. I made it, yay, yay, yay. But we still have to continue on after that. And number three, what teams, tools, and tactics are needed? We need to be able to understand that. Otherwise, again, we're not going to be prepared for this journey as well. So a couple of the questions you can answer. Number four is, what are you going to do to test? And in digital, it's super important that we've got a lot of assumptions, right? And that's what's really key to understand here. We don't know everything, and that's cool. But what we can do is we can test it to see, okay, does this work? Does it not work? If I do this, will I, engage with my customers? If I do that, am I just pushing people away? So we can test this, run some experiments to say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run, for example, a landing page that allows people to connect with some of those core learnings. For example, this worksheet. How can you actually enable that so that people are going to see what you're doing? Test it out, run some experiments. Don't be shy, don't be afraid. You're not going to break anything. Okay, run some Facebook ads, set up some email campaigns. We kind of know the basics. Set up, identify your website, what changes you need to be able to do, and test it, see if it actually works. Number five, how will you measure success? So what is it that's going to say, hey, I made it to that summit? Again, I need to continue down the other side, but how will you measure this success? Is it a number of clients? Is it, the way that you deliver your product? Is it the way that you deliver your service? Again, look at those 12 elements from the AMPS model, because that's what gives you that structure to say, hey, I can tick all these 12 triangles off, all these 12 elements of the triangles off. And number six, what are the base camps of your business? I gave you 10, right? What about your business? Your business won't have these same. This is kind of my methodology to show you these are how you actually build that capability into your business, but they can be different from for your business. We need to look at, how do we take our customer, our audience, on that critical journey that gets them to that point of success. Okay, we're not Luke Skywalker, we're Yoda. So what are your 10, what are your base camps? Again, you don't have to have 10, but what are the base camps of your business to get your customer to their destination and back again? Those are the critical steps that you want to be. My final part of my challenge is, do you want to be part of 1 million global companies that hit 50% and beyond in digital adoption and penetration by 2024? If you do, please get in touch, because we're going on an expedition to be able to get to that goal as well. It's a big goal. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to take a lot of work. But once we get there, we're going to have some amazing success. All right. So congratulations to everybody for listening. You are now the new digital CEO, the Chief Expedition Officer. So go forth to your expedition as well. All right. Just a final thing. If you want to find out where you are right now, you can head to leadership.digital, and that's basically does an inventory of what you need to know right now. And for everybody who's on this broadcast, if you do the assessment tool, I'll send you a book, and I'll also send you a paper copy of that worksheet as well. And as I mentioned before, you can go contact me at doyle@dep.digital, or you can actually go into the resources and worksheets as well that I have, bit.ly/digital expedition resources. All right, thank you.